Welcome back to Titan Academy. In this video, we will cover how to delete files from Salesforce. There are a number of ways that this can be done. What I'm going to walk you through here is a simple query and how to construct it to delete all files that are associated with a contact. I've added a lookup onto my project. This is a lookup that will look up to contacts. We choose any contact. And then I've added a button here that I've labeled delete all files. What we're going to do is we're going to create some actions to put behind this button to delete files that are associated with the selected contact. So let's take a look at how we might do that. First thing we want to do is to create a custom variable. Click on the gear icon, go to Tools, go to Custom Variables, click the gear, and let's add a static variable. I want to add a static variable to hold the values of a record ID called cont-doc-id. These are the IDs of the files that we want to delete. So I'll just label this something logical, cont-doc-id as so. Now what we want to do is to run a Salesforce query to get first the ID of the selected contact and second a list of all files that are associated with that contact. So let's go to Salesforce. We'll create a new get. This one is already existing. That was created for the contact. We want to create new. I want to select the parent object to which the files are attached, that is the contact. I will run this on user action. There should be only one record, so we'll leave it as first record. Our conditions are, or the contact ID is equal to the value of the contact record selected in the lookup. So that is going to be the lookup's contact value. That's what holds the record ID. We don't need to map anything or sort anything here because we're not going to actually do anything with the records that we retrieve. What we're looking for are records related to this. So we'll go ahead and click Apply. And now we want to add a child get. Click on the three dots, put Add Child. And from here, we want to retrieve records from the Files object, also known as the Content Version object. We want to retrieve all of them. You can retrieve up to 1,000. Let's just say up to 1,000 records. There aren't going to be that many, but we'll put that limit in anyway. I'll put it in the description, get related files. Our conditions, here we want to filter for records where the file first published location ID is equal to the contact ID. That's already set up for us since this is a child get. First published location ID equals number 2 gets contacts, contact ID. That will populate that with the record of the contact that was identified. In mapping, we want to map to that variable that we created, the Salesforce field content document ID. So we'll find our global variable, which is right here on top, and we will map to it content document ID from Salesforce. Let's pause here and set up the first part of our action for deleting and see how that works as far as getting those IDs. So I'll select my delete all files button. I'm going to open the action editor. I want to add a node. I only want to execute this if a contact has been selected, so I'll put an if condition here, and we will say if the lookup contact's value is not empty. So this will only execute if that is not null. And then we want to execute a Salesforce action. We'll add that node. And we want to pick that contact get that we created. What this is going to do is it is going to grab the list of related files and it will add those IDs into that variable. We're not deleting anything just yet. We're just going to take a look at how this works. So I'll go ahead and preview my project. I know from in Salesforce that Andy Anderson contact has a number of files attached. So we'll go ahead and select him as a contact. Before we do this, we want to make sure that debug mode is on. That's in here in your builder, in the gear, tools, debug mode. That opens up this little debug button here where you can have a look at variables behind the scenes. If I click this delete all files button, again, I haven't yet added a delete action, so that's not going to happen, but it will run that query and get those IDs. So if I click on debug, I can see in my cont-doc-id variable 1, 2, 3, 4 file IDs. Notice on Andy Anderson, number of files, 4. Those are the IDs in that variable of these 4 files. Now let's go ahead and set up the query to delete the files. Again, we want to go into our Salesforce menu. We want to create a push delete. We'll click Create New. This time, the object that we select is Content Document. The action is delete. Here you can select if you want to delete the first match, the last match, or all. I'm going to select all. In our conditions, since we've created a list, we need to find records where the ID is in that list. So we will select Content Document ID as the field. The operation is in, and the field that we want to select is our cont-doc-id global variable that we set. So remember how this created a list. So what that query is going to do is going to take an ID, and if it is in this list that's been identified, that record will be deleted. We'll go ahead and apply. I'll click close. Now I want to add that to my delete files action, so I'll open the action back up. In the Salesforce action, we've already run the contact get. Now we want to run the content document delete, and I want to go to my advanced integration options and set a custom order of execution, because we want to make sure that we get that contact ID and get those variables first. We'll run that 1, and we run the delete 2. Click next. I'll save and apply. Save my project. I'll go ahead and refresh this preview. All right, let's look on Andy Anderson again. We'll refresh this just to be sure. 4 files, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go up into our project. We'll select Andy. I'll click apply. And now, when I click this delete button, those actions should run, identify the associated files, and delete them. Now let's check back in Salesforce. I'll refresh this tab. There are no longer any files associated with the contact Andy Anderson because we deleted them. If we want to confirm this, come back into your builder, go to the gear, go to the Salesforce tab, go to integration logs, and we can see that a delete ran and deleted 4 files. And that is how it's done.